So before Buda and Pest was two separate cities. Then also the suburbs got connected to the city. So Budapest kind of expanded in the 50s. In the 70s, the swimming was forbidden in the Danube. So because of the big industry, the river got poisoned.
Last year, we did a project when we were measuring the water quality. Is it possible to swim in the river? And we found that most of the times, when there is no big rain, the Danube is perfectly swimmable. And I think we have geographers, we have architects. And also, I think what we discovered is it's not because of the educational background, but the creativity and the inspiration of the people.
So that's still when you ask what is the traditional Hungarian food, it's the halászlé, it's the fish soup. And I think this is something which is actually still traditional, but otherwise not so much in our culture anymore. But I think this is really a deep connection.
What do you think needs to change in order for that to happen? Like to have this kind of sustainability where like economy, ecology, social life are well balanced?
I think we need a bit more bravery and playfulness. I think experts need to be more vocal. I think
vocal?
Yes, because many times they kind of know that we are not heading to the right direction, but they just rather sit quietly because I know the solution and I can talk with my 5 students about this, but that's not gonna change it.
Valyo, Cici, Samu, welcome to the Sphere. This is our usual greeting, but this time we're abroad. This is one of our first episodes in English. So thank you for being our host for this new season.
You're welcome in Budapest.
Thank you for being here and inviting us for the episode.
What you do is really inspiring and interesting, and we'll talk about this. But I want to start first with Budapest and Danube, and how Danube shapes everyday life and how its history actually made Budapest. So what would you say is the most important part, let's say, from that part of history, and how Danube actually made Budapest what it is now?
Budapest actually connected the two parts of the city. So before Buda and Pest was two separate cities. And why these two cities started to be developed here? Because it was easy to cross the Danube before bridge times. And of course, it was a very important kind of crossing area. So this is how Buda started to develop, because it was a good, already the Romans were living along the Danube. So we have a lot of Roman heritage along the Danube. And later on, as I mentioned, when Buda and Pest and old Buda was connected in 1873, then of course the river became the middle of the city, and it really became the center of the city. And since that, it made through very important changes, because at the beginning it was a part of the ports were really along the Danube, and most of the trade coming to the city, to Pest, and also to Buda was coming through the Danube. So it was a very important port area, and the markets were built along the Danube, and then they were filling up with the fruits and the goods from the Danube. And it was a mixture of kind of industrial area and a Corso area at some parts. And then later on in the 60s and the 70s, when the motorization started in the city, it was a big change again in the role of the Danube, because the road along the Danube actually seemed to be a fast motorway, just get through the city, when also the suburbs got connected to the city. So Budapest kind of expanded in the 50s, because we had many surrounding cities been attached to the core city, and this suburban traffic got more intensive. People were sleeping outside in the suburbs and then commuting back to the city, and the cars needed more space. So, and this was in the 60s, 70s, when actually everything was removed from the Danube side, and two big lanes were built there. And actually, that was the moment when the city got a bit detached from the Danube. Even in the 70s, the swimming was forbidden in the Danube. So because of the big industry, the river got poisoned, and also the whole perception how we are connected with it was kind of very dramatically changed. And then this was like the last decades, the last 40, 50 years, that the city just got more far away from the river. And I think in the last decade, when we have a new era, and actually the city starts again to have a look on it, that actually there is a huge, like the second biggest river is going through Budapest, and then we start to see like how we can reconnect it to the city life.
I think it's very important that Budapest is here because of the Danube. So it started. It was first, the river was like basically a natural fortification. So people couldn't really cross the river because it's quite wide, and Buda side was protected with the river. So that was the border of the Roman Empire at times. And then the Buda and then later Pest grew out of trade, as Cili mentioned, and we along the way we lost it because the industries were like slowly closing down, and the trade on the river just really became less important, and then we somehow lost the connection to the river in this way, and then motorization happened, and then we really have to find again why Budapest is next to the river. And because like there are many beautiful pictures of the city, but actually when you are here, you cannot really feel, unless you are crossing the river on a bridge, you cannot really feel the presence of the river there. And then that's what we want to bring back, like have an importance again in the city life.
I think it's an interesting connection with Budapest and Belgrade, since we are from, actually, most of our crew is from Belgrade. Belgrade has the same, let's say, I wouldn't call it, okay, yes, it's an issue, but also it's an interesting fact that the river was kind of a connector, but also a barrier, and there is this kind of ambivalent role of river, of what it actually is. And like you said, the city or the society is constantly reinventing why this river is important. In one period, it was like a barrier, so it's important for defending. Then it's important for the industry, and then it's important for the cars to pass by because it's fast. And then, like you said, now you're also trying to reinvent, like Belgrade also is trying, not so successfully, I would say, but still trying to kind of find its connection with its rivers, since I think Belgrade has one of the biggest surface like coastlines in Europe or in the world. Like we're on two major rivers, but actually when you look at it, there isn't so much public spaces on the river itself. So my question now is, like, how do you think it influenced culture? You showed me some interesting photos of like from the past, from like before, I don't know, 60s or 70s, like you said. Are there any like written traces of how people used to use this river back in the days, and how it like evolved and changed now?
Yeah, I think like in Hungarian culture, the fishing was really part of the culture, as before the river regulation. Like the big part of the current territory of Hungary was actually a lake, swamp, a huge wetland, and it's also like northern Serbia, like also the Vojvodina part was like a huge complexity of different small lakes and small rivers, and then the two big rivers, the Danube and the Tisa, and when the regulation of the rivers came, the country was dried out, and actually then this kind of fishing culture was moved just to the rivers, because before that it was like the whole area where people were using it, and they were just Saturday morning fishing and Monday morning fishing, and so that's the still when you ask what is the traditional Hungarian food, it's the halászlé, it's the fish soup, and I think this is something which is actually still traditional, but otherwise not so much in our culture anymore. But I think this is really a deep connection to that. And nowadays it's very different because also of the regulation of the river, we build these huge dams along the Danube and also the Tisa, and that's pretty much changed like this direct connection with
And
the
it's also
river.
a visual barrier, it's not that much physical. You can just go over the dam, but as you look at the dam, it already signals you that you shouldn't go there. It's dangerous, it's not for you. It's so like, I don't know, I think we have to kind of reclaim these places next to the river, and also the river itself, because as we want to say it nowadays, like the river itself can be a public space as well. So we should start thinking about liquid public space, because there is a huge area of Budapest is the Danube itself, and how we are connected to that is very important for also like how you feel in the city, especially nowadays that there are bigger and bigger heat waves, and we're gonna become more similar to Cairo or Athens than to I don't know, Berlin or Prague. So in a 20 30 years, it's gonna be more like what we think is as a Mediterranean weather coming here. So we need to reconnect to the natural cooling effect of the Danube.
And there was, sorry, just one additional thing, that there was also in Budapest a strong sport and leisure time culture that was connected to the river. And like it was absolutely normal that people had a small boat or a canoe or a kayak in the north, and a lot of boat houses along the river. And that was also kind of cut when the river got poisoned or like more not so safe to get in. And this is what we also working on it to bring it back, that actually people used it for leisure time, like just a Saturday morning go and use the Danube and just use it as a regular place. So not only the Balaton can be swimmable, but also the Danube can be swimmable.
Yeah, river is fun. River is for swimming. Yeah. I think you mentioned two topics that I want to go back to. One is the traditional part of what a river actually is used for, also the fun part of the river and leisure time, and also the ecology part, which I think it's neglected a lot. Nowadays, I think the general public is also, yes, we could say we're more aware of like the climate issues, but I would say at least in our context of Serbia, general public is not aware that rivers are the lungs of the city. Like the city breathes and cools itself through these gaps because it's getting more and more difficult to find, spaces that air can just flow through these arteries and spread throughout the city. But right now, I would like to kind of just give the audience a context of who you are and how did Valyo form, and what was your idea in the beginning, and Maybe you can later discuss what's changed from that initial idea until now. It's been like 15 years of you just had an anniversary, right?
Yeah. This year we are 15 years old or young, and
we said in architecture it's young. You're young.
Yeah,
15
yeah,
years old,
yeah.
young. Yeah.
Yeah. When we started in 2010, actually, as we mentioned, the city was so disconnected from the Danube that actually we just had, our mission was that we just put back on the mental map of the locals the Danube. Just that actually when you would ask somebody, like, let's draw the city, if you would draw the Danube on it, or to what context you would kind of mention. Because even us who started the Valyo, we didn't had a personal experience with the Danube in the city. So, and that was this kind of empty hole made us to make the organization or the group, that actually we live here, we cross the Danube every day to go to university or to school on the bridge, but we actually never go down to the river. Or even I was told, like, don't touch the river because you get some infections. So this is how we grow up. My generation grew up like this. And this is what we wanted to change. And we were mapping the whole Danube side in Budapest, and actually started to discover what were the situation 15 years ago. And then we realized that actually we can go only by small steps. So if this happened in more than 150 years, that the city got disconnected, then we should start in small steps and change the relation in the next 100 years with the river.
You're an interdisciplinary team, right? You have like here architects, geographers, lawyers, right?
I don't know myself. I did an economics and philosophy degree, so I'm already coming from an interdisciplinary background. And then I in the last 6 years I was working in the urbanist NGO field. So and I got educated in this side. So and I think we have geographers, we have architects. We have
landscape architect.
We have landscape architect, and also I think generally, like, what we discovered is it's not because of the educational background, but the creativity and like the inspiration of the people. We need to use that, and it doesn't if you have aspiration, and if you want to go after it, and you are creative, and you are happy to play a little bit with the public spaces, then you have a place here. And we have many volunteers from different backgrounds, from IT, from lawyers, from all different regions. And whenever we want to find a specialist, we just ask our friends, and oh yeah, I'm doing that, by the way. I never knew. I only saw them putting together benches and painting them, but I never knew he's also a lawyer. So it's very funny.
Yeah, you nicely explained why it's important to have many different people or like personalities or knowledge for creativity, right? But I'm also interested, like, why do you need so many different knowledges? Because I guess that basically when you're trying to reclaim public space, there are many issues around it. So in what way does it help you to have these many different, let's say, expertise in your team?
I think it's usually a long process when you have from an idea that, okay, we have a nice new public space, until the moment that we have a bench somewhere or a place is opening. And I think in that long process, often in different moments, you need also different perspectives. Sometimes you need to have the ideal, the dreamer view, like what it could be. That's more the planner perspective. Then we come to the phase when we are dealing with the municipalities or with the bureaucracy. Then we have the structured strategic
And persistent.
thinking, and then the persistent, like, okay, and go back and say it again, and then go back again and say it again. And then also we need a bit of the poetry also in and the communication is very important, because often we need to rewrite narratives and rewrite the story of a certain place, and why is it important for the people, what are the stories. And I think that's also one very important part of our work, to kind of change the narratives of the Danube and change the narratives how people think about the city.
How is it to change? How is it to change? Like in the sense of, let's say, reception of the public, and how is it change something like in the way municipality reacts to your ideas and projects?
I think what I experienced that last year we did a project when we were measuring the water quality in Budapest. Like, is it possible to swim in the river? And we were measuring two bacteria, and we found that actually most of the times when there is no big rain, the Danube is perfectly swimmable, and just it was also a surprise for us that how clean the river is, and we had to show it to people. So we did communication campaign and petition, but we also did like an offline. So like we did like a big kind of monument of the water quality. When it was good, it was blue. When it was bad, it was yellow. So just so people see the river, because when you look at the river, you don't see if it's good or not. So we did a monument of the water quality itself, and I was very surprised, because in the first few months it was like most of the comments we got is that you cannot swim in the river, you cannot touch the river, you will get infection, you will die, etc., etc. And we also did water quality measurements with volunteers. So we said that okay, anyone can apply and come and take a sample, bring it to the laboratory, and we will check it for you. And I think that was very important, because people felt that okay, I can do the water quality measure, and I will bring the sample to the laboratory, and I think it changed the attitude of people. Like, oh, then if you can go there and do it, then it shouldn't be that big of a problem. And this year, when I think it was a direct effect of the campaign itself, because we were directing politicians, we were talking with a lot of decision makers to bring back swimming to the Danube, and they opened the second public beach in Budapest this year, and the reception was like, oh, it's so nice, and so nice to have a small place, and oh, it should be bigger. We want a public beach here as well. So the reception was not like, oh, you cannot swim in the river, but it's like, we want more of this. And in one short year, okay, there are still comments, but like the overwhelming majority is not that. So in a one short year, like at least our audience, it's completely changed, and they act as an ambassadors of the topic as well. Like, it's very funny to see, like, hear conversations when we work on our project next to the river, and then people how they talk about the river and how they feel that it's their place and how they invite their friends. And that's how you change the narrative. Like, you have to start small, and then suddenly you realize that it's because we were very afraid that it's gonna be a big issue, and we wanted to be prepared to this, like, have a communication campaign about the river quality, but it was not needed. Like, the politicians don't ask anymore about river quality when we have a meeting. They just accept that, oh, it's possible. Then our next goal is to have funding for that and really find the municipalities that want to act on it.
The funny thing was that even the politicians and the authorities admitted that we were also surprised about the data you were measuring. And actually, this is big because before that, everybody was just saying, oh, I think the water quality is good enough, but nobody ever measured it really. And then we actually were really surprised when we saw your data that it's actually really good.
But the fact that like in I think 2011 the last water treatment facility was opened. So since then, no wastewater is going into the Danube directly in Budapest, and also upper stream from Budapest, there are no wastewater going directly to the Danube, and it's I think it's very important, and you can see that beavers are coming back to the river, and there are many more fishes coming back that disappeared for 20, 30, 40, 50 years from the river. They are coming back, and a much bigger life in the river itself. That already shows that, because, for example, beavers are very kind of picky in the sense of water quality, so they don't come back if the water is not good. So
you use a lot of different, let's say, tactics in order to change this narrative in your projects. And one of the most interesting ones for us is maybe the play, how you use play to kind of reclaim the public space. And maybe you can walk through some projects where you purposefully used, play in order to invite people to reclaim the space and to maybe change, like you said, change their perception of what river actually is, that it's like a friendly space that they can spend time, that maybe they can swim on, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. The very first activity of our organization was actually a game. It was a stone skipping championship. Is this? I think it's called in Serbian. It's the frog stone. In Hungarian, it's duck stone. Yeah. So when you throw a stone and it's jumping on the river, and actually this was the very first game we played, because we were thinking on something which everybody knows. Everybody has this good memory of it. When you as a child, you naturally go to the river and you immediately take a stone and you start to throw. So that's so natural and human. And we wanted to actually bring back this, that actually in the city center you can do this as well. And why would you go to the river otherwise? Otherwise you don't go to the river, but to do a good stone skipping championship, you would go there. So this is how we started, and this we tried to keep this spirit as well, that actually to be on the public spaces or go to the river, it should be something fun and enjoyable. I'm coming also from the green movement, and I think it's very difficult to talk about big topics as climate change and climate adaptation and how the weather is going to be really bad. So it's something really depressive when you start to talk about this data.
But it's also kind of abstract, like you said. Yeah. People just
and it's really abstract. Yeah. And actually, when we were thinking like what could be the answers and the solutions from climate change, I'm always thinking about it like people should like how we're going to solve this problem. So I think it's very important that, for example, if the Danube is a good island for cooling down, of course you can say that it's solving the heat island problem and so on and so on. I mean, that's usually very boring to talk about in a lot of data, but to go swimming to the Danube and just to go on Saturday afternoon swimming and enjoy it, that's very important that we talk in this way about the Danube. Why is it
you give those informations on a spoon, on a small spoon?
Yeah. And what I like the most is the sand pit. So like you just next to the river, you just put out a lot of sand, and then kids gonna appear and then start playing in the sand. And also I see many adults. So like what I really like is that it invites people in. Like they want to know, why is there a sandpit next to, just next to the road. People go there, see what is happening here, and then they already see the events happening there. So you need to invite people, and or a ping pong table. Just putting out, like, we put out benches, barbecue, and the ping pong table, and a lot of different kind of things to invite people to spend time next to the river. So the embankment, or rock part, as we call it, I think it's very important placemaking project we do. And so I think maybe it's the 5th year or 6th. Yes, maybe it's the 6th year we're doing it, and every year we manage to convince the municipality to make it longer. So first time it was just a few weekends, and then now it's 2 month car-free embankment, and also all the weekends, like for half year, every weekend is car-free, and you need to put out things that invite people. So first you need places to sit down, you need places to spend time to make it more comfortable, so shadow, or put barbecues, public barbecue there, or organize concerts, workshops. So just, and what I saw this year, that it became a place, like people started to talk about the are you coming to the embankment? And what embankment? The embankment, like, because we call all the alongside the river, all of them are called embankment, but people started to use it as a name of the place itself, and to see that if you go there Friday evening, it's full of people, and what I'm very happy about is mostly locals, like expats, and also people who are living here, and because tourists don't really find it that much because they don't know about it, but most of them are locals just walking along the river and just spend time there. And it's at a summer weekend day is one of the most visited. If it would be a public park, it would be one of the most visited in Budapest, which is very surprising for me. But also, I'm also not surprising if you see the view from there. But you just surprised, like, how come they never did this before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like a realization, like, oh yeah, like we can use it like this.
Or how play comes into this is like we purposefully want to put out things that you can move. So a lot of benches that if you are coming with a bigger group, you can reorganize the benches and sit how you want. And what is very interesting to see is when we put down the benches, they stay there for a few days, and once someone picks it up and moves it a little bit over, then everybody starts reorganizing it. So like everybody realizes, oh, we can really shape the place we are at, and then they start these small things like reorganizing.
Did you learn something from those interventions, like the sense that maybe people sometimes do something wrong? Because I'm thinking like an architect, and we are trained to think about how people will use certain spaces or things, and there is always an element of danger, or they will use it wrong.
I think there is no such a thing as using something wrong. Like, I think people are...
I can many things come on my mind right now.
No. But the thing is that, especially because what we do is most of them are temporary. So we cannot do wrong. We think a lot about what to put out. We put it out, and we see how people use it. And
but you do observe, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the most important part, that people start to use it, and then we observe, and then we change. What we can change, we change in 2 days. What we can change, we change in a month. What we cannot do, we do it next year differently. So I think it's very important process, and I think in this sense, how we do it is much more playful, as we don't plan for 50 years. We plan it for the season, or we plan it for 2 weeks. But you can learn about these temporary solutions a lot, what would be nice if you would do it permanently. So I think it's very important.
What lessons did you take from all those interventions and experiences? Maybe lessons that other cities can maybe learn from Budapest and from your initiative?
I think, first of all, that if a city don't have a lot of money, then it's really important to do the temporary things. First of all, you can gain a lot of information before do the final plan, and I think this is what happens in many of the cities, that this period is lacking, when the city actually observes how the people are using certain places, and then only after that they would do a plan. I mean, there are these classical things about pathways, like how actually people are crossing a huge park, like the pavement going like this, and the people are actually doing the shortcuts. And this you can go out and observe in your city, and there are many of these classical examples. And I think we could save really a lot of money and efforts if we would first observe the people and then make the final plans.
Yeah. I think it would be mandatory. It should be mandatory that before projects you do 1 year, 2 years temporary solution, and then to see how what you imagined is really happening. And if not, then you change the plans. I think that this is how it should be in most of these public space projects, because also the city evolves, the citizens evolve, they change. So what you thought, like, if a big procurement goes through like in 10 years, and from the first thought, okay, we are very optimistic, maybe 15 years from the first thought until it's built, many things changes. Like, you cannot expect that things gonna stay the same. So
yeah, I agree. That should be a mandatory practice for all urbanists and architects. Just go on streets, just observe.
Also just observe different places. Like, you shouldn't sit in the office and in front of your laptop, but you just go out the city, see how people use it. Like, you should spend much more time outside.
That's a really good advice, actually, for young architects. I agree.
I think the biggest advantage of ArchiCAD is that it aligns with many fundamental architectural practices. It closely aligns with the working habits of architects. And based on such habits, its superiority lies in having a unified data source that can effectively integrate all the information. This way, we don't have to deal with different software, data, and formats, or do data conversions, or layering. Such conversion processes often lead to errors and information loss.
In the course of our work, I feel that ArchiCAD has brought a more logical approach to thinking about architecture. In each project model, we strive to recreate the existing architectural and site conditions. This includes integrating structural and MEP information.
Without ArchiCAD's extensive and reliable tools for information integration, given this high degree of multidisciplinary complexity, we would face difficulties during the construction process, and the potential losses we might incur could be much greater than any extra time spent during the design process.
This technology allows us to balance ideals with reality. The ideal is related to our design concepts, while the reality is about construction. This duality can help everyone better understand the constructiveness of architecture.
In a three-dimensional space, our designers will notice potential collisions and other issues. And as they work in the software, designers also develop new habits, because we've transitioned from passive problem discovery to actively discovering problems. I think this is a very significant shift. This is also a transformation brought by ArchiCAD, an enhancement in terms of design.
I remember one let's say, how to say that, lesson or practice that we had but only one in faculty that we did, and we were just like observing how many people cross certain crossroads and trying to do some statistical analysis, but that was it. But you see so many things, and also people are always interested when they see someone standing and like writing something down. They want to talk with you, and then you get in the conversation. So it's an interesting experience actually being there on the field and just.
Oh, okay, sorry. And I just one more advice, if I can give, is if we develop the cities for children and elderly people, then actually, if we observe how they use a certain area, children and elderly people, then actually we already have the answers for many of these questions, if it's accessible, if it's really comfortable for everybody, because the current developments are really going for the healthy between 20 and 40 age group, and then who can really use stairs and everything. And what we also do to have as a success indicator of our places, like how the children and the elderly people can access our public spaces. And if they are using it, and if they can comfortably use it, then I think we have a good space for the city.
We kind of started the topic of let's say, cultural change, or cultures like a mechanism for social change, which is kind of like, I would say, a main topic of our discussions in this podcast. And I'm interested in like talking about your projects that did exactly this. Where you kind of try to reconfigure river as a cultural connector. And several projects come to my mind, but maybe you can remember some better examples: the swimming pool, the floating performance ships. Maybe the question is, how can river become a cultural connector? In what ways, and why is it important?
I mean, our first trip when we founded our association actually went to Belgrade, because we wanted to see, as you mentioned, the city, which is such a rich river coastline, and especially because often we were hearing that this is what's happening in Vienna and how Vienna is doing, and Vienna is like the best city, and we often were hearing, yeah, okay, but they can do in Vienna, but okay, maybe we cannot do in Budapest. And that's why we also went to Belgrade to see what is happening in Belgrade. And we were referring often that in Belgrade, it's so nice and they can do it. So we can do it also in Budapest. So it's, and I think it's really funny how the cities are connected through the Danube. And we have actually direct connections, but we are still a few hundred kilometers away from each other. And I think that's really important to learn for these cities from each other, because actually it's the same water going through Vienna and Belgrade at the end, which is just passing by Budapest. And I think that otherwise we don't connect these countries with each other. So it's like somehow we have a border in between, and we are disconnected, and we never think about the whole area from the Black Forest till the Black Sea. We never kind of really view on the Danube like as a huge kind of artery of Budapest. And in the last years, there are, because there is a European Union's Danube strategy, there are many projects which are actually going through the Danube. And then we often meet some projects that are passing by the Danube. And one was actually which inspired us a lot, and that was a German professor who is actually a chemist, and he is researching the water quality of rivers. And he was swimming through from the Black Forest to the Black Sea, and they were measuring the water quality like through his skin. Actually, he had a cloth on it, and then they were constantly taking samples from the river, and they were researching the microplastic primarily in the Danube, but also many other qualities. And and he was swimming through Budapest, and we had to organize a side event. So the organizers contacted us and, okay, this professor is swimming here, what would you do? And that was the moment when we were still not having our measurements from the Danube. So we were like, yeah, it would be good to swim with him, but actually we don't know the water quality. And okay, he is swimming, he is brave, but we are not yet. And that's why we made an event, the canoe event, that we were accompanying him. And it was so successful, like that it was one day and we were following him through the city, that, I don't know, like we opened the call that you can canoe through Budapest. And then in 2 days, it was full registration. And actually, since that, we organize every year this event, that for one day we are crossing the city with the canoes. And it's so successful that we open it, and Shamu was organizing it, and in 2 days it's fully booked. So it was also a very good inspiration, like that somebody is coming from a different culture and then inspiring us. And then we just made a project out of it, which is actually now traditional in our everyday work.
And going back to culture as well, that I think it's very interesting that we, as an NGO and as a playful creators of the public space, we don't have the pressure to make huge concerts and everything, but we want to make these parties or like concerts to invite people. So, but we don't have the pressure to bring hundreds or thousands of people, but we just want to bring maybe 50 is already something. And then we don't have the pressure to bring big names, but we can pick from our people who we know are talented, or sometimes people find us if they can have a concert next to the river, because it's a beautiful background. And so this year, I think we had more than 80 applicants. So we had an open call for citizens to bring any kind of activity next to the river, and we were organizing them next to the river. And there were like very, very talented people coming there. Some of them, it was their first time to perform in front of people. And I don't know, I think it's very good to open the stage in this sense for as many people as possible.
Yeah, when you mentioned Belgrade and stage and music, I think about the rafts, which are now gone from the river. They removed them, but it was a really, really important part of the Belgrade. It was like a heart of Belgrade's nightlife. And people were coming in the night and just walking by, visiting clubs. But there was also a nice promenade, let's say around the river. So yeah, I would say Belgrade has, in a way, rich culture in the way it uses, although the capacities are not there as they should be. But we have a very beautiful lake close to river, Ada Țiganlia, and people swim there, and I swim there a lot. And
yeah,
there's also this issue about like the water quality, and there is a trope which I'm not sure is correct actually. Yeah, but also the music, the biking, there are some parts, and like the city is working now to reconnect the Sava and Danube shores together with the bicycle tracks. But you also had a floating ship project. What was that about?
That was also like I don't know, from Austria it started, and then there were a bunch of artists on the ship, and then mainly contemporary dancers. Mm-hmm. And then they were stopping in different spots along the Danube, like in Bratislava and in smaller towns as well, in Komárno, then in Budapest, and it went down till Bulgaria. And then they stopped for one day at some area, and then they made a performance in in connection with the local reality and for the local people. So it was a moving stage along the Danube.
Do you think you managed to kind of change the identity? I know we already mentioned this in the beginning, but do you think the identity of Danube is changed in the last 15 years since you're being active, in the sense that it's like you mentioned, for example, it's swimmable, you know?
It's constantly changing, I think. And I think we are part of what makes it different. And also there are different factors. So like many like developments next to the river, just like in Belgrade, also developers found out that we have a river and it's a beautiful view. So it's a different factor that kind of works against us, like these big developments. Then they many times close down the riverside from the public and only for the people who live in these developments. So I think the river itself is constantly flowing and it's changing, and how it changes, it depends on us and also the people who live here. So I think we are going to a good direction, but it's far from what we think is ideal.
We can also see how these narratives and the culture changes with the Danube. That, for example, in the 19th election, many of the candidates were actually using the term like we should reconnect the city and the river. So this is when we were seeing that actually our aim that we bring back on the map of people, our decision makers, the topic of the Danube was actually reached, and it was not only in the programs in some of the candidates written, but also in their campaign they were using topics with the Danube. And I think that's very important.
And now I want to kind of, for maybe the end of our discussion, want to look in the future and to kind of imagine what would, people-centered Danube, let's say, look like in the 2050s, for example, or like in the next 10 or 20 years, on some longer horizon. Like, what do you think how the city should develop, and what would be its connection? What would you like to see, let's say, in your city?
So in our dreams, the Danube has at least like 15 new beaches, which are also like the wooden swimming pools and some open air beaches. And I think what is really reachable is that also it's walkable and bikeable in the whole city. Like from the north to the south, you can go with your bike without any big barriers and without like dying between the cars. I think that's...
Yeah, I think it would be nice to have like this embankment project finished finally, because we've been doing it temporarily for 6 years. I think it's time to make it final, put it in stone, and really have the cars removed forever, or at least for the next 100 years. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but it would be nice to see in 10 years how it changes the area itself. And how people think about the river, because especially in the city center, I think it's the hardest to access the river in the city center because of the motorway itself, and then there are so few pedestrian crossings, that we need to be able to access the Danube in at least every 500 meters. It should be easily accessible, and
what do you think needs to change in order for that to happen? Like, to have this kind of sustainability where like economy, ecology, social life are well balanced. Like, is it more involvement of the public, or maybe the experts, or maybe the decision makers need to kind of change, or the way we influence how decisions are made?
I think we need a bit more bravery and playfulness, because we kind of know the direction we want to go. Like also already the politicians in the campaign, they say these big words that we want the river to be accessible, we want human-friendly, human-scale cities, but what decisions they make, they don't always support that. So you just have to go with that fully and like don't stop and be like think that you achieved something when you already only did like 5% of your plans. So like I think you need to go a bit faster than this because of the social environmental pressures we have. We cannot really wait for 50 more years. We need to be a bit faster, but also we cannot forget that the city doesn't change. Doesn't change in a year. We have to think about 5, 10, 15 years, but maybe not 50 years because that's too. I'm gonna be retired.
We want things to change faster.
Yes.
Silly, what do you think? What needs to change?
I think also the citizen need to demand also between the election period from the decision makers, and they should constantly remind the decision makers that the quality of life should be the priority in the cities for the people. And I think we shouldn't use the big words, even climate change and climate catastrophe, but also that the quality of the life, from health-wise and also from socially, should be improved in the city, and that should be the priority for
development. What would be the dangers? Let's say I would say that in most of, let's say, European countries, if you look at this context, there is a lot of gentrification along the coasts, big projects with a lot of capital going in, where they're also trying to reclaim the river in their own particular way. For example, we have the Belgrade Waterfront project, and it's also very kind of symbolic. I would say that it has Belgrade in its name. So, do you have these issues? Let's say here, do you recognize these issues here in Budapest, or maybe broadly speaking in Europe?
Yes, of course, and I think connected to that, I think we shouldn't be afraid of rules. Because, of course, opening up new places is really important, and then also to see how financially they can be sustainable. But I think we need rules for the common together living in the city, that it's good for the whole community and not only for a small group. And I think in every new development, there should be a agreement on it, like how it can bring the most for the city and not only from small businesses or for very private actors, that it can bring the most for everybody living in the city. And what happening also in Budapest, in one of the area is the main touristic party zone, that when it started to grow, there was a lack of regulation of the situation, and now it's really difficult to regulate. And that's why when we are talking about the Danube development, we constantly remind the decision makers that when they bring in new actors and businesses, it should be done in a regulated and transparent way, how the profit and the livability is getting into balance in that areas.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really important topic. We often forget there are the qualities of certain solutions, not just the economic ones, although the main narrative is like, oh, we should, help the economy grow and so on and so forth, but it only benefits a certain group of people. And there are also other qualities that we should consider, but like you said, these qualities are not in the interest of those who are decision makers or those who want to make money. So we also, as a citizen, need to kind of reclaim those qualities and those, let's say, rights to the city.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't forget that the city is for the citizens and not for the capitals and the development and the politicians and everything, but it's for the citizens mainly. And you need to think about these projects does it help the neighborhood? Does it help the people living around? Are they putting something to the city? If not, then it's not a good development.
Well, do you think there is a role that experts should play? Obviously, your organization is full of experts, and you're utilizing your expertise and knowledge in order to improve the quality of life. But do you think that, like, experts, I'm thinking more generally, obviously I think about architects, but I think it's a more broader question of like the role of experts in the society.
I think experts need to be more vocal. I think
vocal.
Yes, because many times they kind of know that we are not heading to the right direction, but they just rather sit quietly because I know the solution and I can talk with my 5 students about this, but like that's not gonna change it. Like I think also like in the municipality, in the decision maker level, and also the experts, the academics, we kind of know the solution. We don't know like how to do it exactly, and there are a lot of discussion and argument to be made, but we know the general direction to go at, and there is I think overwhelming support for that. Then you have to speak up if you don't think something is good, and say that, like, imagine and envision how you want to see your city, and you speak up for that.
Yeah, and it's also important, I think.
So I think we forget, like, we always think that experts need to say their smart words and then something will change. But the thing is that I think experts themselves are citizens of this city, like Budapest. Like, experts live here. They also should influence how the city looks like, the similar way as you ask the neighborhood, like the people live
and
here.
It's also important how I would say how experts do it. You mentioned the words you use, the way you approach people. Are you approachable? And also, I think that we as like experts forgot like the basic notion of organizing ourselves. You cannot do you can be a voice, like an individual voice, but your voice doesn't matter that much if you don't have some group behind you or around you. Let's not say behind you, but like people around you that kind of support your idea. And I think your collectives are very inspiring in that sense, that you gathered around certain ideas and you're working something collectively. So maybe for my last question for you guys, like, what's your future Valyo? Like, what are your current projects and aspirations? What do you plan to do in the following years?
Mm-hmm. The very current is to reopen next year the beach, which was opened this year. So, and we hope that it will be also in space and time, a longer project. And then we move on with the embankment.
Yes.
You can tell about it.
Definitely, I think we should continue to push the boundaries of the municipality a little bit and make the time even a bit longer. And also, I think it's time for us to move a little bit further along the embankment, because the kind of headquarter we had there is already kind of well known, and we should move to like just a few hundred meters further, so to make a bit different place there.
So expansion, right?
Yes, expanding it.
Tili, Samu, thank you for the discussion. It's a real pleasure, and I hope to see you soon in Belgrade.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.